I knew a dog named Maggie, used to follow me around my hometown. She looked like a wolf, she laughed like a hyena, she cast no shadow on the ground. All the stray dogs in my neighborhood barked and howled as I passed by, but Maggie never showed me her teeth, she never left my side. Maggie the mud is frightening someone for those that do not know. And Maggie the mud ain't nothing but a reflection of my soul.
Fuel your dog with confidence. Fuel them with power. Fuel them with Joy High Performance 2618, made with the highest quality of ingredients, with beef being the first. Our key ingredients, omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, glucosamine and chondroitin, vitamin E and zinc, will have your dog's coat looking healthier than ever, healthier joints, and a stronger immune system. Not only will your dog have more confidence in the field with our high performance, but you can rest assured that you are feeding your dog a top quality food, knowing that all of our products are 100% American made and our brand has gone over 75 years without any recalls. Fuel your dog with confidence. Fuel them with Joy High Performance 2618. Call 800-245-4125 or visit our website joydogfood.com to find a dealer near you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fueled by Joy podcast. And today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Mr. Sean. Sean, how you pronounce your last name?
Ollinger.
Ollinger. Okay. I didn't know if it was Ollinger, or what it was. Mr. Sean Ollinger. And we are going to talk about some Beagles. We've been doing the coon dogs the last couple of weeks. We've had a couple episodes with English setters, and now we're going to go to the mini hounds. So, Sean, tell us about yourself, how you got started with the Beagles, and where you're at, all that good stuff.
Well, I grew up in Coshocton County, Ohio, for the most part.
Yeah.
As far as getting into Beagles, it's kind of I guess I'd have to give a lot of the credit to the guy that got me interested in it, to my uncle. I call him my Uncle Troy, but he's my dad's cousin, so I guess he'd be a cousin maybe, but that's not real important. He had an old rabbit dog named Sinbad, and he was a big hunter. He deer hunted, turkey hunted. If it was in the outdoors, he did it. I was young. He's one of my first memories actually as a kid that I recall was him. He'd shot a big doe and brought it to my grandparents' house. They had it hanging up and stuff, and he picked me up. We took a picture, and I always looked up to the guy, and I always enjoyed listening to him tell stories about his dog Sinbad. He did a lot of hunting with him, but my parents would never really let me get a dog. I think I was about 14 or 15 before I finally convinced my mom to let me get a dog. I actually got my first Beagle from the dog pound. She was probably an 8-10-week-old puppy, something like that, and I took her out and trained her. I used to take her out just about every evening after school to a berry patch there in West Lafayette. It's not there anymore, but at the time it held a lot of rabbits and stuff. So I took her out and I got her trained, got her started. She was running rabbits. One day when I was running back here, I ran into a guy named Don McVeigh from the McVeigh family. They're a fairly popular common name in Beagles, and he had 2 dogs out there. And needless to say, they were a lot better than mine.
You telling me that guy that with all that experience had better dogs than the one you trained out of the pound?
Yeah.
Hard to believe, ain't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got back there and I heard dogs running, so I kept mine on the leash. I walked back there and Don introduced himself to me, and I was just amazed that dogs could even run a rabbit that fast and that hard and push one the way they were
Yeah.
pushing. And he was nice. We got to talking, and he told me about field trials, and there was a Beagle Club, Coshocton County Beagle Club, just down the road from where I lived, and he handed me a business card
Mm-hmm.
that had, Coshocton County Beagle Club on the front, and it had all the hunt dates on the back. So I didn't even have a driver's license yet. I think I was 15. Now I got my mom to drop me off on her way to work at this hunt, and I had my dog.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody, but Don came up, introduced himself, and a guy named Todd Porter. There was a lot of people that just kind of took me under their wing and showed me the ropes. I drew out with Todd Porter. My dog had never been around other beagles, so she didn't want to pack.
Yeah.
But he complimented me anyhow. She went out and jumped a rabbit and all that. But that just kind of led down that rabbit hole right there. Don's brother, Dick McVeigh, he got to know me at that hunt, introduced himself to me, and he started picking me up after school, and I started running dogs with him, and it led from there. I ended up getting another pup I named Lucky, which don't ever name a dog Lucky because there's a long story behind him.
Yeah.
He was not a lucky dog. But I got him, and that actually helped my first dog as well. She kind of helped get him started, and then she learned to pack up and run with other dogs.
Mm-hmm. What
And it kind of snowballed from there.
when you started hunting with, Sinbad was the first dog you hunted with?
No, I never actually.
Oh,
hunted
never
with
did get to hunt with Sinbad.
I was still too young.
Yeah,
but he was the guy that sparked my interest. I always looked up to him. He was a great storyteller. He always had a story for every hunt. And he just, as a kid, you could get starstruck by somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Were there any other types of dog sports that you participated in when you was young? Because a lot of guys that are running beagles or cur dogs or coon dogs or something like that, it seems like they go through a bird hunting phase, or they go through a coon dog phase, or sometimes they do all that stuff. I know guys with retrievers, setters, bird dogs, or coon dogs and bird dogs. Did you just do the beagles, or did you have other stuff that you did for fun?
No, I've stuck with the beagles.
Yeah.
I'm always interested. I've gone coon hunting with a few of my friends.
Yeah.
Just pleasure hunting. I do know guys who do competition coon hunting. I listen to their stories and things. But for me, I kind of found out pretty quick that if you want to be good at one thing, you just got to kind of stick with it. And
Right.
beagles, they consume enough time. I really don't have time for anything else as far as other dogs go. But I'm always interested in it. I know a guy that trains security dogs, and he convinced me to put on a bite sleeve one time and take a bite from a 45-pound Malinois puppy to completely kick my butt.
Yeah, those are cool dogs.
Yeah, it really is. That stuff, I'm always fascinated about that kind of stuff. But for me, it's been mostly just beagles.
So you went to that first field trial. What was the name of your the one you got from the pound?
I named her Blue. She was a tricolor dog. She wasn't a blue tick beagle, but she got the name Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see a big difference when you first started taking her to the trials between her and of course, you said she didn't pack up, so that was going to be the main difference. But I mean, could you tell once you hit a certain competition level, that these dogs are different?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My second pup, Lucky, I'd gotten him from Dick, and he was Northern Michigan hairbred dog.
Yeah.
So he was a lot faster, a lot more, just more endurance, just a better bred, more athletic kind of dog. It did, and he helped her more so than the older dog helped him. He kind of pushed her more so, even though he was the younger dog. Just the breeding and the genetics of the dog, really kind of made her pick her pace up a little bit. So.
Yeah. How long ago was that when you was 15 years old and walked into that field trial?
Oh, I want to say that was 99 or 2000.
Okay.
It was
27 years ago, 22 years ago, somewhere around in there, 22, 23
yeah,
years
pretty
ago.
close. Yeah, I'm 38 now.
Yeah.
So
you've been doing it pretty hard ever since?
Yeah. I mean, I spent some time. I did about 8 years in the military. I did 4 years active duty Army. I did 4 years full-time National Guard.
Yeah.
So, but I always had dogs. I had good friends, that would take my dogs for me when I was gone for a while. And, guys that I always kind of stuck with, that we all ran the same dog. So they've always help me out
Yeah.
when they could.
Now I've been around it a little bit. Of
Yeah.
course, I've had beagles when I was younger. We had some pretty good beagles up until I was 13 or 14, and then the 16, 17, I think I had some beagles then too. But up until the coon hunting at night completely consumed me, we ran beagles quite a bit during the day, but it was just for fun. It was when the snow was on, you'd go out, you'd shoot some rabbits. You'd turn them loose in the yard of an evening, and you'd hear them running behind the house and stuff like that. We didn't get carried away with it. But I'm going to pick your brain a little bit about, because I wonder about genetics and breeding and training and all that stuff. And from what I can gather, Sean, you do all that. I mean, you've bred, raised pups, trained pups from the beginning, competed with them and stuff like that. So I'm going to pick your brain a little bit here.
Okay.
But you talked about the northern Michigan, the hare genetics and things like that and how they're bred. Is that, when you say that, you're going to have to explain that to me a little bit, because I know people go up there and they run them hares in the swamps or whatever up in Michigan. I know Alan Gingrich has invited me to come up there one time. Says it's a great time. I need to do it. But those are different bred dogs than, say, something in the South.
Well, there's some, for the most part, it's a different kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for a lot of those guys up north. They just, a hare, it's a bigger type of rabbit, and they'll run. For me, when I go up and run, I'm paranoid because it's a deer chase, basically. It's, if a dog takes something in Ohio that runs like a hare, it's a deer. Right. So there's always that little sensation on the back of your mind, like, man, this isn't a rabbit. There's no way. So I'm not at ease until I actually see the hare come by, but. Those guys up there with the kind of game that they're running, the hare, it's a lot of their, and I don't try on the Northern Michigan hare circuit or, the Northeast.
I never even knew there was a Northern Michigan hare circuit.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a blast. It's a blast to go up and do it.
Yeah. I'm
envious of those guys that they have the ability to do what they do.
Yeah.
And they can test dogs in a way that we can't test dogs in Ohio.
I see.
It's more of an endurance. It's not just endurance, but endurance plays a big part into it.
Yeah.
So those dogs, in my opinion, they tend to have a little more endurance. I guess you could say they're built a little leggier a lot of times, a little bit more footy. So,
what kennel clubs do you hunt in? What kind of competition hunts?
I kind of try to hit them all.
Yeah.
I don't run a lot of AKC. I got a lot of buddies that run AKC. I do a lot of UKC, PKC, and ARHA Little Pack.
Okay, what's the ARHA Little Pack? I don't think I've heard of that.
That's actually probably the most popular format, and it's got the biggest following, usually the biggest turnouts for dogs.
Yeah.
What they do, they score dogs on strikes, which is a dog opening up 3 times on a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
They'll score a dog on a jump if they can determine which dog it was that actually physically jumped the rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they score checks. They'll score 15 seconds of no progress. The dogs, basically, they lost you might have a dog barking, but it's at the judge's discretion when the progress of the track is actually stopped. They'll go if 15 seconds of no progress goes on, then they'll award the dog that recovers the track at that point.
That sounds like a difficult event to judge.
Yeah, well, you go out, the handlers will turn their dog loose. Once they turn the dogs loose, the judge, who actually follows the dogs, is basically in charge from that point.
I see.
So that's the hardest part, I think, is the judging. From a handler perspective, it's really laid back, really fun hunt. It's not as competitive. I'm not going to say it's not as competitive, but it's more laid back than, say, a hound and hunter type format.
Yeah.
More social, I guess, because you're not listening for your dog as much. You don't have to strike your dog or any of that. It's basically, once you turn them loose, the judge is in charge.
Really?
So,
that does sound fun if you're the handler.
yeah, it's a good time. I like taking my kids to those hunts because they can walk the dog, turn them loose. It's a good time for kids.
Is there, does the same dog equate to being successful in, say, AKC, UKC, PKC, and the little pack stuff? Is it take the same style of dog, or does each, individual hunt format or how they scored or anything like that, do the kind of dogs vary?
We could we could spend a whole hour just on that topic.
Well, we got
Um,
time. We got time.
yeah, no, me personally, that's what I look for. I look for a dog because here in Central Ohio, we've got just about everything going on,
Yeah.
from AKC to Little Pack, UKC, PKC. It's a busy area for
Right.
Beagle competition. So personally, I look for a dog that I can take to whichever hunt I feel like going to that weekend.
I see.
I believe a well-rounded dog, and a lot of people support this, a well-rounded dog can do well in just about any format you put it in.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, there are certain types of dogs that will favor one format over another. So, but I don't tend to just focus on just one. I just like having the kind of dog that I can take out to either whatever's local that weekend if I want to go and feel like I got a pretty good shot.
So a good Beagle's going to win no matter,
Yeah,
it's going to get
for the
its.
most part.
I see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you got for dogs right now, Sean?
Me, I've got my oldest dog, Wilbur. He's 4. I think he'll be 5 in August. He was given to me by Frank Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I got 4 young dogs. One out of Meacham's Merle Haggard, which is a Northern Michigan bred dog.
Mm-hmm.
He actually came out of Northern Michigan. My buddy Brian Hartram had bought him as a pup, and I bought him off Brian after I did a pedigree for him and saw how he was bred.
Yeah.
Set up that dog, so he gave me a price and I paid him for it. And then I've got 3 young dogs I'm working that are out of my stuff, crosses I made. The youngest one is 1.5 years, so I got dogs anywhere from 1.5 years to 5 right now, but most of them are in that 1.5 to 2.5-year-old range. I've got some pups that are, they're not quite starting age yet, but I'm going to have my hands full with them here pretty soon, working them and trying to keep my running dogs in shape as well.
Yeah. Is that a litter that you raised, the pups?
Yeah, well, I just got one pup out of Wilbur's first litter yesterday.
Right.
And he brought a female that I had bred previously. She's out of a litter about 6 years ago. So I just picked her up. I've got another pup coming out of his second litter that's about 2 weeks behind. So those ones would be pretty close to being out of my stuff. And then some of my friends that we all run the same bloodline for the most part. So
what is that bloodline, Sean?
Well, Gridiron at 30-06. Jason Prater, he was a football coach in high school, weight room coach. He was another one of the guys that I didn't even know he had Beagles until I went to field trials. And then, I'd always seen him at school, so I recognized him at the trial and I got linked up with him. But they when I had gotten started, they were going up to Northern Michigan and getting dogs and bringing them down. So it all stems back to those dogs. They started off from Shore Acres, and what's popular to say is Paycheck, even though Johnny Paycheck was a dog that I think he ran in the mid to late 70s, so he's been gone for a while, but a lot of guys have line bred that line, and that's kind of what a lot of my stuff goes back to too. It's a common phrase to say Paycheck bred dogs.
Yeah. And so
he's a ways back there.
I say late 70s he was running then. Did they do like they do with the hounds and have chilled semen and store and collect dogs and all that stuff, I assume?
I mean, I don't think they were doing that back then with him. That is, a lot of people are doing that with Beagles now, but no, this was just I'll say he's probably my line. I have probably 5, 6. I think the one female has maybe 8 crosses of Paycheck, but he's back in the 5th or 6th generation at this point.
Yeah.
When people think of my dogs, that's what they tend to think of. So.
Well, let's touch on line breeding real quick, Sean, because that's kind of a topic between us houndsmen and bird dog guys and stuff like that. Some are line breeding, some don't like it. Do you guys do a lot of it, or is it mostly out crosses and the dogs are because like in coon hounds you get 1 or 2 popular studs, a nailer, lipper, rat attack, something like that. Well, you can't help but have those dogs in the pedigree. You know, when they've sired 5,000 pups like Lipper has, you know, you're gonna have Lipper in your pedigree. So technically they're line bred, but sometimes it's not on purpose. You know, so
Right.
is
Yeah.
that? Go ahead.
Well, I started doing pedigrees for guys. Actually, I got a database. I started doing it myself, and then
Yeah.
it kind of grew to other people wanting them too. What I found out is a lot of people's dogs are more line bred than they actually realize.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the
I've,
same way
I've
with coonhounds.
yeah, I've done some pedigrees for guys, and I'll look back in the 7th or 8th generation, and you might see 26 crosses of a dog named Branko's Jack of all trades, which was
Mm-hmm.
another really popular stud dog back. And I don't think people realize that a lot
Yeah.
of times because they don't look that far back. Now, how much influence you get, I'm not one to speak on that stuff. I'm not a geneticist. I don't know those things, but
What's your idea of it though? Because I'm not a geneticist either, but I got my own ideas.
yeah, absolutely. I've got my own ideas as
Yeah.
well. I believe, concentration, my opinion, concentration helps a little bit with consistency.
Yeah.
A lot of guys say line breeding can magnify the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you kind of go through things with a fine-tooth comb. You got to be really selective on what you're breeding, why you're breeding it. You got to be aware of what you could be bringing out in your pups. But that goes with any kind of dog, I would say.
Yeah.
You gotta really just know your dogs, know your lines. It takes a lot of experience to kind of know what you're doing or have an idea of what you might get. You can't
Right.
just grab 2 dogs and throw them together necessarily. But
You talked about, because I know with us, we it's got to be a pretty good dog on both ends before we're going to raise litter pups. Good female, good male, good dogs behind them in their pedigree. We want to stack up generations of talent and make sure
Yeah.
that our whole pedigree is full of that. We don't do a typical a brood female or something like that. We don't believe in it. But there's a lot of people that do, especially in the coonhound world. They'll take a dog that's bred really well that wasn't the best coon dog, and it's always a female. You never hear of a brood male, but
yeah,
they'll take a female and they'll raise a litter of pups out of her. And don't get me wrong, some of those have produced outstanding dogs, but my idea on that has always been, what are those dogs going to produce? Because the traits that make that female less desirable are in there, and eventually down the line in the pedigree, that's going to come out. That's
eventually.
always been my theory on it, and you guys are trying to do the same thing. I'm guessing, breeding good dog to good dog.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason I've gone with line breeding is because it's a family of dogs that I've been exposed to for a while.
Right,
I know
right.
those. I can look at my pups. I can look at other pups out of those lines, and I can identify traits that those pups are displaying, either whether it's physical or performance wise. Like, that might go back to Jason Prater's old Sadie dog, or this could go back to Blitz, or this could go back to this dog. This is a common trait that one of those dogs might have thrown.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more or less been for consistency and just knowing what I'm getting. It's always been a tough family of dogs that competes well. It consistently reproduces, and to me, I think that's kind of your stamp. Is if you're going to be breeding dogs, is how consistent can your litters be?
Right, I agree.
You'll get some that are better, but I've been pretty lucky to at least get good, solid rabbit dogs. I'm not going to say it's just this line of dogs that does it, but this is a line of dogs that will do it, and that's kind of what you want to stick with, Even if you're not line breeding, you're outcrossing. You want to look back to the parents. Well, what did the parents' litter mates do? This is actually a conversation me and Mitch Gold have a lot about.
Yeah.
Not just the parents, but the parents' litter mates, the grandparents. How consistent are those dogs? And you want to try and stack all those ingredients together as much to get the consistency that you want.
Right, I agree. And that's same thing we try to do, and I think, like you said, it's applicable to nearly every sporting dog breed.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's just dogs in general,
Right.
I do believe.
What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel Beagles, I told you before, I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts. You guys talk about breeding coon dogs and consistencies in coon dogs and stuff. I feel like if you start off with a good line of Beagles, you're going to have good results.
Yep.
Whether you're looking, I don't know. I think that the Beagles are just genetically been bred for so long to do a specific job that it's hardwired into most Beagles you're going to get. It's more of a matter of how much time you want to put into the dog to get the results you're looking for.
We've had a Beagle running loose on the farm or at my house and they're not bred great, or they're not this or that, and I love hearing hounds run, and I like using them to start coon dog pups.
Right.
And so up until 10 years ago, I usually had a Beagle running around out here in the yard, and I would have just a Beagle, and I would just turn it loose, and it is going to eventually strike and run rabbits all day long. with no help from me, with no help from anything other than what is wired in its DNA. That dog is going to start striking and trailing rabbits.
Yeah,
I mean, they just do it.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of Beagles in specific.
Yeah.
My first dog came from the dog pound, and she ended up being a dog that I could go out and kill rabbits with on a reliable basis.
Yeah, and they remind me of Labrador Retrievers. Those dogs are going to go get stuff and bring it to you.
Yeah, they're going to absolutely.
They can't help it.
Yep.
So, yeah, you guys have done, the Beagle forefathers have done a fantastic job in breeding those animals. So, I mean, it's just 100% natural, it seems like. Of course, there's a lot of nuances when you're looking to compete with something.
There is. Yeah, there is. That's when you start going through with the fine-tooth comb.
Right.
But, to piggyback off what you said, the Beagle forefathers, and to me, that's why line breeding works, is just piggyback off of the work that other breeders have dedicated so much time to.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel, So always use another good breeder's work to help improve what you want in your kennel. That's kind of my philosophy.
So what are some of the traits that you're looking for in your kennel, Sean?
Well, mine are a little different, I guess. A lot of guys, when you ask them that question, will say, hunt's got to be number one. For me, it's desire. I think dogs desire to chase, to smell and to chase and to seek out game. I think your hunt comes from that. I think a lot of your intensity comes from that kind of stuff. But I want a dog with desire and then heart to just not quit. The kind of dog I want is the dog that's still running when my buddy's dogs are laying underneath the truck.
Yeah.
To me, that's a good dog. That's pretty much what I look for.
So
brains,
that's the must-have. That's not something you can slide with. Yeah.
Yeah, desire and heart. If a dog's got brains, everything else tends to kind of come together. Whether it's Beagles, I'm sure it's probably the same in coon dogs.
Mm-hmm.
A dog that wants to please you. You teach that dog which direction it needs to go, what it's supposed to be after, and then it'll figure out that it's pleasing you when it does that job as well.
Yeah.
So, I've always said a good dog is a dog that pleases the person who feeds it. That's pretty much the basic, simple truth of it. The dog's only got to please the person who owns it. Yeah. But to me, those are the things I look for. That's what's going to please me.
And so you said you just got your first litter off your male dog. I assume he's got quite a few of the traits that you want and like, and you're going to pass that on?
Well, we could talk about him for a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear about him.
I got this dog. He actually lives in the house. My old Falcon dog, he passed away last summer. And Wilbur was given to me by Frank Miller. Frank, he's a dog. I was running a dog that Delbert Erb and I owned together named Zink.
Mm-hmm.
I was running him in a lot of PKC and Plum Creek hunts. And Zink and Wilbur were drawn out against each other just about every weekend, and it could go one way or the other. It just depended. Those two dogs were battling back and forth. I told Frank Miller, he lives down in southern Ohio. He's got another popular line called Fox Creek Beagles. Frank's a really good guy. I like Frank a lot, but he called me up one day, basically, long story short, and he said, if you want this Wilbur dog, come get him. The price is right. He's free.
Sounds like a
I
pretty
said,
good
"Are
deal.
you sure?" Yeah, I said, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, absolutely." He said, "This dog and I, we just don't mesh. He needs a new perspective, and I need one too." He
Yeah.
said, "So if you want him, come get him." So I came and got him. I was at his house in 45 minutes, and I
Yeah,
picked him up.
I bet.
You know, because but he's a dog that has actually kind of changed my perspective on a few things. A lot of guys, when they think of the Northern Michigan hairline, they think of a big nosed dog. And I'm not saying that they're not, but this dog, he's a Southern Ohio bred dog,
Yeah.
out of cottontail lines, not a lot of hair breeding in him. If you go back far enough, it all goes back to Branko stuff, but it's a good ways back at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This dog has got probably the best nose of any dog I've ever ran. And nose is a hard thing to judge in Beagles. It takes a lot of time to realize it.
Yeah.
But this tough winter we had with a lot of ice and stuff, he was the only dog I had that could consistently circle rabbits and put rabbits in front of me. He's a faster style dog, which that's what the Fox Creek dogs are known for. He's what you would call a little pack style dog. He's going to swing out big. He's going to get big checks. He's going to grab them. He's going to run away from the pack.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what he is. That doesn't suit everybody, but he works for me because he's still accountable for his game. He still shows you. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal. Can a dog show you the rabbit, whether you're competing or rabbit hunting or anything else? But no, he's shown me a lot of things. I like his nose power, his athleticism. I might go out and run, and you watch your mileage on your dogs. If my other dogs have 18 miles on them, he's got 22.
Really?
He just, the hustle of this dog, and that's what makes him what he is. His nose power and his work ethic. He's always working. That nose helps him out with his jump. He's not the hardest hunting dog. He jumps a lot. He jumps plenty of rabbits, his fair share of rabbits, but anything he lacks, he can make up for it in nose power.
Yeah.
So I've watched him jump rabbits that other dogs didn't know were there. He's an impressive dog. So
I know, because dog switching handlers and handler switching dogs that's a big deal in our sport too. I mean, some dogs and handlers don't get along, and the dog needs a switch and the handler needs a switch. And I know from personal experience, when someone calls and has a dog that you like Wilbur, and says they're mad at him, that's a perfect time to go get them.
Yeah. Well,
you want to hustle. You want to hustle down there before they change their mind.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And I think I ended up giving Frank like $5 for the dog because I felt bad.
Wanted
but
to give
Frank,
you something.
That's the kind of guy he is. The dog was 3 years old when I got him, and Frank's not going to hold on to a dog for 3 years that isn't something.
Right. Right.
It just turned out that and that's exactly what he said. Sometimes a dog and a handler, different handlers can mesh with a dog a little better. And that was specifically what he said. He said Wilbur needs a fresh perspective. So.
Yeah. No, it's
I
good.
brought him home.
It's good for the dog too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I brought him home that night and brought him in the house to show him to my girlfriend and our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she, my girlfriend Charlotte fell in love with him, so he's been in the house ever since. He hasn't even made it out to the kennel. So.
Really? That sounds like Wilbert got a pretty good deal out of it.
Yeah, he got a good deal. I got a good deal, and Frank seems to be okay with it too.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Have you competed quite a bit with Wilbur?
I have. I've had him. I think I got him in April of 2021. He's got all kinds of places in Little Pack. He's been in several winners packs. He needs a first place in Little Pack to finish. He's got, I think, 3 second places. And in Little Pack, you win your cast, you advance. It's all advance. It's not like PKC where you win your cast, get paid out, and if you guys decide to split, you split, you go home. Little Pack is like an elimination style. So there's been a couple packs in Little Pack where I'm like, man, he's got to win. The judge comes back and I miss it by a check.
Really?
Oh my God. But he'll get there. He'll get his first in that. He needs one more cast win to make PKC champion. He's like $42 short for PKC champion. And he just made UKC Hunting Beagle champion this weekend, actually, at our home club, Tri-Valley Beagle Club.
Well, good. So Wilbur's doing some damage then.
Yeah, absolutely. You
Good.
know, you win some, you lose some, but he's being pretty consistent across all three formats.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
good.
that's what I look for. That's the kind of dog I want. So,
What you said you got some young dogs on the ground. You got some puppies coming. I want to kind of just touch on real quick your process for starting a puppy, because I know you've started quite a few. You got Wilbur as an older dog, but you've also raised quite a few pups and hunted them, through adulthood. So, do you have like a process you go through? You kind of vary it towards the dog, or how do you go about getting your puppy started and going and ready for competition?
well, I've done just about everything, to be honest. I've
Yeah,
started them myself. I've started them with other dogs. I've used starting pins. But the one thing that somebody told me that kind of changed the way I do things is a fellow named Donnie Yant from up in Michigan. He's a guy that's been doing it forever.
mm-hmm.
He's got a really nice pin. He started a lot of dogs for me over the years, but he told me, because I used to start them at 4 or 5 months old,
Yeah,
but they're not really big enough to keep up with your dogs at that point. So then you're in a, you know, contradicting point where you've got to mess with the started pup or leave it laid up or take your big dogs out and run them.
yeah,
So he told me, he doesn't start a pup until 7 or 8 months old. So that's what I started doing. Let a puppy be a puppy,
mm-hmm.
spend time with it. The girls are actually out in the front yard playing with the Wilbur pup right now.
Yeah.
So that's my process. I let them be a puppy, 7, 8 months old. Once they're big enough to keep up with the other dogs, I'll typically send them to a starting pen.
Yeah,
Get them back and then start working them in with, some of your less strong dogs. A good puppy trainer in Beagles is priceless.
really.
I can tell you. Just a medium speed dog that
Yeah.
works close, that you can work in the brush piles, something that works with you, that won't lose the puppy can stick with it and let that dog show it the ropes. That's about the best way, in my opinion. Now, you can ask 20 people and get 20 different answers on that question,
Yeah.
but that's the system that works for me.
Do you have a pretty good pup starter right now?
I don't. That's
Yeah.
the one thing I'm doing right now. I wish I did. I did years ago. I bought him off of my buddy, Jason Prater. Dog named Blaze. Man, he trained, I want to say at least 8 or 9 champion dogs for us as
Really?
puppies. Yeah, he's just an old rabbit dog that he was a performance pack champion in UKC.
Yeah,
But just that dog that you could get into a brush pile, jump a rabbit, and show those puppies how to do it. The puppy
Yeah.
could get ahead of them, make some mistakes. He'd hang back and fix it, keep the rabbit going.
yeah. When you're starting the pups and say they're 7, 8 months old and you're taking them out with a good pup trainer or whatever, or you get them just back from a pen and you're starting to turn them loose with maybe some of your stronger dogs, are there any like little things that you notice real early on in that pup that you're like, oh yeah, I think I got something here? Or is it kind of a long feeling out process to see if it's something you're going to want to compete with and eventually?
For me, I usually don't make a decision on a dog until it's about 1.5 years old.
Yeah.
So when I get puppies, it's a long-term commitment. There's plenty of days that they make you mad, and then sometimes it might be nothing, but it makes you mad. I had a dog named Falcon that I co-owned with a buddy of mine, Mark Murray. I got him as a 6-month-old started puppy. And I hated that dog for the first 1.5 years of his life. He was just a dog in the pack.
Yeah.
He would pack up, he would run. He never jumped a rabbit. He never picked up a check, never really contributed much.
Yeah.
And, but I really liked the way he was bred. So I stuck with him, and I'd call Mark and I'd tell Mark, man, this dog, we just need to get rid of him. He's not any good. Mark would say, oh, just give him a little more time.
Yeah.
Mark's not the one fooling with him. I was. So
Yeah, it's a little easier to do, ain't it? Yeah.
Yeah, But, he ended up being right. I sent him back to another pen. It was a larger pen. And I told the guy, I said, I don't care how much you run him. I just want him to get some solo time, because I didn't necessarily want to waste my time soloing him.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really believe in him, but I didn't mind paying a little bit of money to let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
So I said, just throw him in your pen in the afternoons when you take the other dogs out for an hour or two a day or whatever. He did. I got him back. I took him out. Took him out by himself to see what he would do. I was actually walking along and I could see a rabbit sitting in a brush pile. So I worked him up there, got him to work that area. He saw that rabbit, took off. And he might have clutched in that guy's pen, but for me, that day with him, that was like the clicking point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I've got a dog I can work with here. So, and I went on to have a lot of success with him as a competition dog as well.
When you talk about soloing, is that pretty important? Is that an important step in getting those dogs ready? Taking them out by themselves.
Oh, you got to know your dog.
Yeah.
For that, that's dog specific. I'd say 95% of the time, yes, you do get those dogs that just every once in a while that don't really need solo time. They just figure it out. But for most of your dogs, that can be the difference between a good dog and a great dog.
Yeah.
Is just giving them some solo time. They learn how to do everything themselves. Other dogs in a pack, a lot of them, they'll start to create a crutch. They'll depend on other dogs to do things for them. So the more time you can put into it, the more solo time. Most of the time, that's what makes the difference in a dog.
And you want your dogs to be in that pack, at a hunt, I assume.
Yeah. It's not like, I hear you guys talking about coon dogs, how you want them all independent. Independence is good for hunting, but you're either going to be a zero or a hero. You're going to be first strike or you're going to be last strike, But when you've got a good jump dog that you can rely on, you want him to be independent because he's going to go find a rabbit,
right?
But that's a gamble you kind of play when you're doing UKC and PKC, as far as it's either going to pay out big or it's really going to hurt you.
When you do these dogs babble any? Do they loose bark trying to steal them strike points?
Because
that's a big deal in ours.
You don't. Yeah, that's, again, you could talk to a few different guys and get answers. For me, babbling's and most guys I know, babbling is a big fault.
Yeah.
There are dogs, and that's, if you wanted to really sit down and dissect the rules, and a lot of guys will agree with this, there are dogs that get first strike a lot of times that don't necessarily deserve it. They'll get saved.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that can work out for your favor, but I don't know anybody that specifically wants a babbling dog.
Yeah.
That's a big fault. So
we're not a big fan of them, but there's tons of guys that just, they want that dog to bark from the time you turn it loose until the time you snap a leash back on it. And
yeah, we like to put those dogs back in the truck as quick as we can.
Yes, I do too. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like listening to it, but and it's not as big of an advantage in our sport as people perceive it to be. We beat babblers all the time. Babblers beat us all the time. It happens. In the end, you have to tree an extra coon, which is not a big deal. If I can't tree one more coon than everything else that I got out there, I shouldn't win anyway. And so, it's not a huge deal, but it is. There's a lot of guys that when they go to shop around for a new dog, or they go to raise a pup, or they do something like that, they want something that barks and barks a lot.
Yeah.
But
you run into that at hunts. I think it drives a lot of guys crazy. The guy who's winning, he might enjoy it, but most of us, it drives most of us nuts. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, I don't have anything else right offhand for you. Is there anything you want to mention before we shut this off?
No, I mean, I just want to tell you good work on the podcast stuff.
Thank you.
I've been following Houndsman XP, and I know you're doing Fueled by Joy, and I spoke to you. I've been interested in getting something like this going for Beagles in the competition Beagle world. I've been paying attention to how much the coon dogs have grown in the past few years.
And I think Beagles are, because it's a fantastic sport. I mean, it is. They are fun. Them little rockets are a blast to watch. They're a blast to. You get to do it in the daytime, which is awesome. It's fun. It is a very fun sport, and it's a very good sport for kids, older adults, the whole works. The whole family can go out and do it, and the dogs are pretty easily available, as far as just getting started and things like that. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Beagles, and I think a Beagle podcast or something that focuses on competing and raising and stuff like that with just Beagles with you behind the mic would be a good one, Sean.
Yeah, we'll see. I've been talking to some guys, and we've been talking about putting something together.
Well, that's
So,
good. I hope you guys do. I'll definitely subscribe and listen, and yeah, it'd be good because I don't think you can have too much content out there. Everybody can soak it up and get it, and if they don't want it, that's fine too. It's still fun to make. So,
right, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, the worst comes to
But
worst, you get to sit around and talk about Beagles for a half
yeah,
hour to an
yeah,
hour.
and
I mean, that's pretty good.
that's easy to do too.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's been about an hour, and I feel like it's flown by already.
That's
So,
right. That's right. So, no, I sure appreciate you sitting down with me, Sean. We're gonna do this again sometime. That was fun. And
yeah, I'm looking forward to
I
it.
got a million
Absolutely.
other questions. Maybe I get out to Ohio one of these days. I'll get to see you turn your dogs loose. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. Hopefully they look good today. We do.
Well, I wouldn't know if they did or didn't. You'd have to tell
Yeah.
me. So,
All right. Well, thanks for the opportunity, Josh. I
all
appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you sitting down with me, and keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Thanks, Sean.
She'll never die of starvation, although she'll never eat. Maggie, the mutt, full of bravery and guts, and always at my feet. Her ribs are showing, her howl is long, but she refuses to die. Maggie will live 100 years longer than I. Maggie the mutt's always down in a rut, looking for some bone that she buried. Maggie the mutt don't get scars, only cuts. She loves me and will not share me. Oh, she loves me and will not share me. Maggie the mutt is riding someone for those that do not know. Maggie the mutt ain't nothing but a reflection of my soul. Oh, Maggie the mutt is always down in a rut, looking for some bone that she buried. Maggie the mutt don't get scars, only cuts. She loves me and will not share me. Oh, she loves me and will not share me. Oh, she loves me and will not ever share me.